Welcome everyone to today's presentation of our monthly Business Boost series airing in the last week of each month. I'm your host, Randy Bowers, and I'd like to thank you for joining us this morning for our Open House Success Strategies webinar, led by Denise Lonis and Shauna Neff. Shauna, how about we get things going here? Denise has a lot of great advice to share.
That sounds fantastic. Well, welcome everyone to Impactful Open Houses with Denise Lonis. I am Shauna Neff of the Lonis Group, and today Denise is going to really cover how to connect with potential clients at the open house. And when done right, open houses can become your go-to lead generation faucet for capturing both new buyers and sellers. Believe it or not, sellers too, yes. Denise is a former top producing agent in a very competitive market and quickly found a niche in new construction. And when marketing a new construction development, having a robust sales center in place is a big component of converting those potential buyers. Denise took those principles and developed a system for creating an amazing open house system that she uses for having a wow experience at the open house. So today we're going to cover all of that on the webinar. So Denise, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you. Your screen looks great.
Well, good morning, everyone. And Shauna, thank you for that introduction. The part of the introduction that I want to bring to everyone's attention is that everything I learned about open houses, I learned from my new construction expertise. And one of the first things that I found interesting and I learned from a very, very smart British man who I just adored. He ran a large construction and development company, and he was also the sales director. He ran it, but he was the sales director because sales is what he loved. That was his passion. And one of the really interesting things that I learned from him and that he told me is he explained to me that people are visual and they will pay more money when they are visually inspired. And I remember that, and I never forgot that. I never forgot that when it came to marketing. I didn't forget it when it came to presentations. I remember that he talked about the importance of getting people involved in the visual side of a presentation. And that not only helped me with open houses, it really shaped the way that I do everything, the way that I went on to list homes and do listing presentations. And when I was at the listing presentation, it was very important to make it a visual presentation. One of the most important things that he taught me was that in order to get people into the mindset of being able to see themselves in a home, they need to see themselves in the area of the home, and that people don't just buy homes, they buy areas. So you're going to notice as I go through some of the things that everything that I show you and that we talk about or that we do at an open house, it's as much about allowing the buyer to get the full experience. And one of the things that we did in new construction, and it was a rule, it was a very simple rule. We would not open a sales site, even if, and we had times where the builders finished building the model home. The interior designers got in and they finished designing it. And you would think, okay, we're ready to go. I got a product to sell. And I remember coming into, going to the development one day. I was so excited because the interior designers were there and they had just finished, and I walked in and I was wowed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. They had done such a great job. And I remember Peter coming and saying to me, and I'm like, Peter, it's beautiful. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I want to sell something today. And he says, oh, you can't sell anything today. I said, what are you talking about? This is beautiful. I said, I can sell this right now. I said, I've got people I could call right now that can come and buy this house. And he said, it's not about just selling a one-off house, Denise. It's about selling the community. We cannot sell the community until we sell the area, the amenities, everything around it. And I was like, what do you, and Peter and I had a great relationship. And I said, Peter, speak English. What are you talking about? And we had a great relationship because we had an honest relationship. And he said, we don't open a house to the public, even if the house is ready to go, if the sales center is not. And he said, go look at the sales center. Are you inspired by that? So we walked into the sales center and it was beautiful. It had, it was gorgeous. The interior design matched the houses. And I'm like, Peter, this is beautiful. I can sell from this. This is nicer than I've ever had. And he's like, well, it's not nice enough for us. And he was very particular about the sales environment And he said, there's no builder story. There's no map of the area. I don't know what other homes are in the area. How does this compare to other things? Where are the parks? Where are the schools? Where are the restaurants? Where's the shopping? And he just went through this list that inspired me. And it was from that moment there that I was changed forever in a positive way for real estate, because he taught me that excellence matters. And he taught me that even if you have something to sell, you can sell it, or you can be extraordinary and do it right. And he said, Denise, I don't want to sell one house. I want people to come here, be wowed, go home and tell everybody, you need to get down and see these beautiful homes. And he said, I need to have excitement and energy. And he said, you have to create that excitement and energy from the moment they walk into the sales center. So from that point on, and I went on to sell lots of new construction, and I love new construction, but how can you take that same concept and philosophy and pass it off and take it into your resale business? Well, very simply, you need to have an impactful open house. And that is something I learned from a brilliant marketing and developer genius mind, Peter. And I will tell you that it changed my business. And what I started doing is I started to utilize some of those things in my own open houses. And before I knew it, I had agents coming and saying to me, you do some really powerful things at open houses. I've got some of my clients that said they were in your open house and it was like very different, spectacular. They loved it. Denise, what are you doing? Share it with me. I had people walk into my open houses and they were happy to leave me their names. They were engaging with me. It became something that now open houses, instead of me feeling like a salesperson, I really felt like I was an expert. I really felt at a completely different level. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about open houses and kind of the concept, because there really are three very important parts of every open house, and that's going to be the before, the during, and the after. But first of all, let's answer this question. Does tech mean open houses are a thing of the past? Do 3D and virtual tours mean that potential buyers are less likely to attend an open house? And my answer emphatically is no. In fact, I think open houses are more important than ever before. I think when a market's super fast, it's important, because if people can get in to see an open house, they are going to see the details and they'll pay more money. I have a lot of agents saying to me, I don't have to do an open house now. Denise, the market's so fast. And I will tell you that I disagree with that. I understand the market's fast, but isn't your job to get the seller as much money as possible? Why not list the house? Why not have an open house? Why not get people in, getting them really excited? When they're sitting there trying to cough up more money in a multiple offer situation, boy, if they had seen the view from the inside, not just the pictures, and the thing is that I know a lot of times people will say, well, wait a minute, they're already seeing the house. They've gone in and they've seen the house. It's a very different experience just to race in and see the house, or to open the house up and open that house so that you could have neighbors come in. You could have other agents bring their clients in. You could have people that maybe you would never have had an opportunity to meet come in. And this is the thing that's really important that I think we forget, is that it is critically important to provide as much exposure as you possibly can. And I think open houses do it, absolutely. So I also think that it's really important that at an open house, you have to have pre-qualified buyers. You just have to. And I think that what happens is when you do not have, and you're not doing an open house right, I don't think you get there. So I think that's really important. The other thing is that people verify and compare. We do that all day long in every product we buy. We go to the grocery store, we look for eggs, we're verifying and compare. What's the price? Are these organic? Are they not organic? Do I care about organic? I mean, we compare. That's what we do. We go shopping for a car. We compare. We do our research. Okay, the same thing is true when people are buying a home and when they are looking at open houses. I believe that, and what I love about open houses is that when they're done right, it's the kind of lead generation faucet that you can turn on when you need it and you can turn off when you don't. You can book as many as you need or as few as you need. But if you're going to do it, I want you to do an open house right. I want it to be something that is going to make you money and that is not going to be a waste of time and that you're not just sitting there. If you plan an open house correctly, you will be busy and you will get clients from it. The other thing is that open houses are not just looking for the buyer. You will attract other potential sellers And that, as everybody knows, I'm very, very, very in favor of us going after listings, especially in an inventory market that is challenged. We have to go after listings. That is critically important. Okay, so pros of open houses, I've talked about a few of them, but first of all, it puts you face to face with buyers and also with sellers, and that's going to be important. Also, if you do an open house, you have to really do your research. You got to know the market around you. So you have to do extra research. You can't just show up at an open house and not know every sale in the area, not know the average price per square foot, the average sales prices, the list to sale price ratio, the schools in the area, the amenities. I mean, you have to do your homework. And I think that by the agents that I see that do a lot of open houses really are able to do that. Also, it sharpens your presentation skills. It's a great way to have to meet strangers that you've never talked to before and build an instant, create that instant rapport and quick, communication with. Also, you have to know the neighborhoods. You have to know everything about the surrounding amenities. So I think they're a very low-cost way of marketing, but I also think they're not for everyone. If you don't like doing open houses, if the thought of it makes you cringe, it either makes you cringe because you're not prepared, you're not ready, and if you're not prepared, you're not ready, that's okay. After the webinar today, there's going to be some things in here where you're going to go, maybe I'll try that, maybe I'll do that. Then you'll feel more confident when you've got one new tool. Then maybe you add 2 or 3 or 5, and before you know it, you got a powerful, very, very powerful open house program. So the pros of open houses, which I think are really, really important, is that you're going to hear pretty instant feedback. People, and even if they don't say anything, watch people's body language in an open house. One of the things that I used to do for builders and developers is I would go into the sales center, I'd go into the model homes, and I would walk through a model home as though I was also looking at that home. And there would be other people in the home at the same time, and I would observe them, and I would observe what rooms they walked in and walked out of really quickly. I would observe the way they looked at things, the way they moved away from things quickly. You can tell when people walk through an open house, if they're lingering, if they're looking, if they keep going back to a room, that means I need more information, or I really need to compare this because this could be the deal breaker. There's a lot of things that can be done by you watching at an open house. I also think that the results are pretty immediate. If you do a great open house and you've got that interest, you can sell the house. These are obvious things, but I think the most misunderstood thing is how powerful it is when you do an open house, how powerful of a tool or a faucet or a lead generation system it is for actually getting other listings. And that's really, if you set your open house up correctly, you could be setting yourself up to be a strong listing agent. Also, you're going to have buyers. So all these things are very, very obvious, but this is not pajama marketing. Pajama marketing means you don't have to go out of the house. You don't have to get changed. You don't have to put on makeup if you're a lady, right? However, if you're going to do open houses, you got to be full on. You have to be full on. And that's what I tell people. You have to bring energy. The negative part of an open house is that it will waste your time if no one shows up. A complete waste of time and energy. My goodness. So you better do some good before marketing to get people there. The other thing is that you have to have prep time. You have to be there in person. It may not suit your personality. You may not like doing that. So that you have to also really gauge whether or not open houses is for you. So 3 parts of an open house: before the open house, during the open house, and after the open house. So before an open house, I think it's really, really important that you do your planning before an open house, okay? And what that planning is, and here's an example. Here's just a great example. I don't think you should do an open house if you're not prepared to do the preparation required. So for example, here it says, okay, I'm going to do an open house on Sunday. So on the Monday, I better prepare and send a neighborhood invitation letter. If you're not going to send out a neighborhood invitation letter, I think that's a huge waste of an opportunity. And in that letter, I like to say in there, here's who I am. You've been hired to sell your neighbor's home. I'm doing an open house on Sunday from 2 to 4, but from 1 to 2, it's a neighbors only hour. Feel free to just come by, have a look, get some stats, see, get some area information. And what you're doing is, you're not just saying come and show up. You're saying pop by, pick up some area information, pick up some stats, see what your neighborhood's been doing over the last year, and show up with good material so that when the neighbors show up, you should have a separate set of neighbors only materials. And I had a separate set of materials, and it was, I would do a complete analysis of the neighborhood over the past year. They loved that. And I had right on the thing, neighbors only. And I would give that to the neighbors when they came, when they came over to the open house. So the other thing you have to do is you got to get a sign writer, put that on the sign, make sure that everything's posted into the MLS and it's on your company site or wherever you would announce having an open house. But you have to do all that well in advance, a week in advance. Then I think that you should create a formal open house listing video. We're going to talk more about that later. And you better start preparing your social media advertising. Then Wednesday, Thursday, chill out, relax. But by Friday, you have to get some things done. You've got to get those open house flyers done. If you're doing a neighborhood analysis for the neighbors only, get that done. Get all your open house boards, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Get those ready to go. Also prepare and print all of the research material that you have because you want that open house to be powerful. And don't forget to post the social media advertising. Saturday, make sure that you have shopped for some snacks or you're ready to go because that's critical. I never have an open house without having some beverages and some snacks. Now, I don't do it like other people do. I don't bake banana bread. I don't bake pies in people's ovens. I don't have people eating in the house. What I do is I have some wonderful snacks that are available that people can take almost when they're leaving. People enjoy that better, and I'll let them know on your way out, just grab a beverage and grab a snack so you have it for your tour this afternoon wherever you're going. People appreciate that. The other thing, and my biggest pet peeve is showing up early for the open house. This is, I cannot tell you how many agents show up late for open houses. And I'll tell you, one time we did a tour when I was working with a large builder. One of the things we wanted to do, we had to shop the competition. So what we did is we knew when they all opened, and I would go and shop the competition, and I would see, first of all, what time they showed up. And there were some builders that had posted sales center open Saturday 9 o'clock, until 6 o'clock, and I'd be there at 20 to 9. Nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. And 10 to 9, nobody's there. 5 to 9. Yeah, well, at 2 minutes to 9, in runs the salesperson. It's pretty unprofessional. I'm waiting at that door, ready to go in at 9 o'clock, and the lights it's dark, and then she's racing in. That's not your best self. If you're going to do an open house, this is a time where you have to be on time. Also, make sure you have some kind of open house checklist. Make sure you know what you're doing. It's really important, and here you're looking at a checklist that discusses, but what do you do before the open house? What do you do during the open house? What about after the open house? I think it's really critically important that you have this checklist and that you follow it for every single open house. And I know, Shauna, we have created a whole bunch of materials. We'll talk about those in a moment, but here's a great example of a letter that was sent out prior to the open house. Easy. Dear homeowner, as you may have noticed, I've listed this home at blah, blah, blah. Many of your neighbors have called with questions about the home. As a result, I have received the James's permission to hold a special open house event this week. And then you talk about the open house and the time, and you invite them. But now what you've done is you've taken this to a whole new level by sending it to them personally, okay? Also, here's a great example of some marketing that was done talking about this beautiful, gorgeous property, and then talking about, and I love this, come say hello, Saturdays from 1 to 3. So again, it's using social media and making sure that you've given the exposure to the home that it needs. During the open house, it's pretty, we have a whole list of tools, but I remember one of the most impactful things, and I will tell you that as somebody that really appreciates, I appreciate detail. I appreciate people who go to the next level. I appreciate people that really do things professionally. I love things that, again, are visual, graphically beautiful things. So imagine coming to an open house and there's a beautiful, on the door, there's a sign that says, welcome to the open house. And that it's an inviting sign. It's like, hey, you're here, you've arrived at the right place, come on in. It's almost like a welcome marker. And this is really important for people because it tells them that, you've arrived and you're here and that this is the right place. The next thing is a smaller sign that says, welcome to the open house, please remove your shoes or use these complimentary booties, and it sits right beside there. But again, it's just more of that cohesiveness with the branding. And Sean, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, putting together an entire campaign around the open house. So maybe I'll bring you in here just to walk us through a few of these things and kind of the importance of creating and having the brand cohesive, which most of my clients and most people listening to this call probably have already done some branding with us or are thinking about it. But the reality is that this is what creates that overall experience.
Absolutely. So for like pieces like this, this is a takeaway. Obviously, this is a flyer, so the person who's touring can take that with them. They can take it through the open house, and as you go through, you'll see that there are other little touch points throughout the open house. But like something like this, it just highlights the features. So it's a little bit different than your typical house flyer because you're really pointing out the special features of the home on that flyer. And then, and we're going to show you exactly how to do this in a second, but we've got then having some community information, especially when you have open house viewers who maybe aren't from the area, because a lot of times you'll have people coming in from out of the area, maybe buyers have just flown in for the weekend and they're doing a couple little tour things. So having some neighborhood information is really important. You can get the census information just from the census website. You can have, a couple paragraphs about the area. And that can be, you can have these different pieces of information made up for the different areas. Like the census information, well, that only comes out every 10 years. So you should be able to update that and just check every 6 months to see if there are because some figures get updated more often than that. But you can just go and check your information about every 6 months, update as needed. But then once you've done this, you don't have to redo it. Denise, let's see the next one.
Yep.
And education as well. So, your school information probably isn't going to change a whole lot from year to year. The school district information, this is available. There's a report card, a school report card website that you can go to and just download this information, have that available. But that, again, does not change that often. So once you do it, it's really easy. You look like this expert, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel for every open house you do.
Well, and the other thing I like about that is that people don't buy houses when they have children if they haven't given some thought to the schools. And you'll notice that if you look at the education options on the left-hand side on that particular graphic, you'll notice that under public schools, private schools, it says school name, but it's really good. You just fill in the blanks. And as Shauna said, once you've got this, you're probably selling a lot of homes in the same area. You do this research once, and this just becomes part of what you have.
Mm-hmm. Parks and recreation, talk about different parks, talk about different places that people can access, rivers and lakes and the beach and things like that. Trails, especially if you've got a home that's got an access to like a trail system, people love that. Well, some people love that. So make sure that you highlight that. And we're going to show an amenities map in just a second here that I think really ties into this nicely too. But even the restaurants, like really kind of what you're trying to do is show the culture of the area. What can you expect when you live here? How close are these restaurants? How close is shopping? What kind of like shopping experience is it? Are we talking like Target and Best Buy, or are we talking about little boutique, little shops? People have different types of interests and different things that they're looking for when they move to a community. And so by showing that you've really done the research and that you can provide that sort of expertise, all the better. Now imagine this too. Imagine now you have a relocation package that's really easy to put together because you've already done all this research. So it does double duty.
Well, the other thing I like is the other thing you use this for is, let's imagine now somebody calls you about this particular property. You're then able to say, let me send you some information, not just about this property, but about the area, because you've chosen a really popular area. Then now you can just email this out, create a PDF, away you go. I do appreciate, Shauna, that on this particular example, that restaurant, there's 6 of the same restaurant, Santuca, which I can't wait to go to that restaurant. The idea being that obviously this is just a visual to show you, but you just decide and show different photos of the restaurants in the area. But such a great idea to have that, because people do care about this sort of thing. And again, right, Shauna? I mean, this is really this whole. I love this because in this case, all you have to do is go in and change and edit the different categories. You can leave all the pictures the same. If you want to change the pictures, you can edit the pictures out, but this makes it really, really, really powerful. And Sean explained the board. This is my favorite thing ever.
So this is really simple, really simple. So imagine that community information that we just showed you, because again, you don't have to change it that often, but you create a board like this. So this is just, we call it the science board, because if you've ever had kids who did a science fair project, you probably bought one of these boards. And so you can go to Staples, Office Depot, Office Max, whatever, and just get one. They do have some in different colors. However, I have to say that some of those other colors really show wear and tear, and it doesn't look as polished. So I would say the darker colors are probably going to be the way to go. So if you need a dark, like a really dark blue or a black, that'd probably be what I would stick with. But then they just fold up. You can protect the sides, and some actually you can actually buy some more professional like presentation boards for like a sales presentation. So you don't, if you this is a good place to start, but then if you wind up doing a lot of open houses and you do kind of get this banged up a bit, then I would go ahead and recommend upgrading to a more robust like PVC or plastic option. That's still lightweight, but it's easy to kind of fold up and go. But these are fantastic. People love these. And then also at the open house, you know, you might show your listing video as a way to get people to the open house originally. So like when you post on Friday, hey, let's come to my open house, like with the example we showed earlier. Come to my open house. It's going to be Sunday from 1 to 3. Stop by and say hello. But then actually taking a second quick little video from the open house itself and maybe doing a Facebook Live or something to get more people excited about going while you're right there in the open house. Maybe you're showing the camera around, but that's a really great way to engage. And you're right there and you're saying, hey, come on and say hello. That way people feel more comfortable about actually opening that door and coming on in.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, you know, we've kind of just had a nice little tour of different things, but when you walk, I want you to imagine now that somebody walks into your open house and you have all these materials. So the vision of what I want people to experience are just these little points of difference. I want them to go into your open house and go, that's different, that's different. So they walk to the open house, oh, there's a sign on the front door, that's different. There's a nice branded, beautiful, please remove your shoes. Then you come in and I tell people set it up usually in the kitchen or kitchen / eating area combined together usually, but oftentimes the kitchen or wherever there's a good enough space where people can look at these beautiful boards, have a table, almost like a buffet table style, where you could be the dining room table. It could be the eating bar in the kitchen. It could be the island in the kitchen, but have an area where it looks like for people that you're welcoming them to walk by and take the items that you need. Have the materials there. I think it's really, really important. One of the things I love is I love doing a price appreciation map where I have a map of the area and I have circles around different areas showing the different price appreciation points. And even if your number is less than the neighbor, you know, the neighborhood across, you know, the street, so to speak, or maybe it's a busy street and it's across in just another little area. By being able to accurately show the appreciation rate, you're able to talk about that. You're able to show the value in the area. You're able to say, you know, this area is really, really popular. You can see that by how well it's appreciated over the last 5 years. Having some stats and numbers, people absolutely love it. You have to have that. This is another document. I love this document because this document very clearly highlights the property that, if you look on the left-hand side, you have all these properties listed, and then you are able to look and see and compare visually very quickly what is happening. And people love comparison sheets like this. The other thing that's different about this, on this Dare to Compare, you're going to notice that there are photos of the homes. So people can take a quick look and go, oh, that's interesting, that sold for this, or that's interesting, that sold for that. Well, that one looks like it's worth a lot more. Why is that one so high? And it allows people to compare, and you go back to that comparison thing that's so popular. Also, this amenities map is this map. When you have this on one of your boards, this is one of the most important things. Now, what I love about this is that Where you have the community features on the right-hand side, that list pretty much stays the same. Then all you do is get a new map, and then you just have to mark where those things are every time you get a new open house. So again, back to that Monday preparation, getting your materials together, which I think is really, really important. Also doing an area comparison map, showing the different areas and talking about access. And on this one, under A, shoreline, light rail coming to the area, that's a great example of, oh, this is great. This could be a great investment. You know, really, again, talking about, okay, area 3, Briar, a little bit more affordable than shoreline and Edmonds. Okay, excellent. Maybe I can get a nice home there. People are all about comparing and verifying. So this kind of information just shows that you have done more research and that you've done a better job. Price appreciation analysis, showing again the Edmonds area, is very, very powerful. I also recommend you can do different neighborhoods as well. But having a home tour book, this is so, so, so important. And the home tour book, what I love about the home tour book is that, again, what you're doing is when a person is at the open house, they are there to collect information. And if you're not providing that information, you're not impressing them. But imagine you walked into this open house and you saw all these beautiful materials, you will showcase yourself. There will be a point of difference. The thing I love about the home tour book is that it's a book you put together that you can give to people as they're leaving the open house. And what it looks like is this. So imagine you came into my open house. As you're leaving, I would say to the person leaving, I've got a home tour book that you're welcome to have. What I've done is I have put, so you can compare, there are other listings in this area that I've created a tour, because you're in the area, you might be driving around. If you're thinking about this area, you're probably going to want to see other homes in the area. Now, I've had agents and brokers question me on why would you do this? You do this because you want people, first of all, if they're going to buy this house, your house, they're not going to buy it unless they compare anyways. And they're going to see these other houses that are in the area. They're going to drive by them. And if they want to get in because they want to compare more visually up close, you can always say, I'd be happy to try to get you in that house today. If that's possible, just let me know, because people will take the path of least resistance, and rather than calling the person on the sign, they will call the person that they've already met that actually let them go out of an open house without pouncing on them. And that's really important, to allow people to have the flow to come in and out of an open house and be respectful and don't sell people. People don't want to be sold anymore. But so an example here, you've got the home, the cover that shows the home that you're presenting. You have the featured home. Then on the tour, you have that, and you have a few other properties. So you would have, that was an example of one. You might have 4 other homes. Then you have the map of the tour. So as you can see here, there were 4 other homes. There's a total of 5. So what you do is you now show them visual directions. You give them a home viewing checklist that shows the different addresses of those properties if they go by them, and then they can quickly fill that out, pros, cons, and comments. People love the home viewing checklist, and it's all within the package. And then on the back, it talks just a little bit about you as the agent. But why that's important is now if they want to tour other areas, or yeah, let's go check these out, they can drive by, and it will either do one of 2 things. It will drive them closer to helping them make the decision that the house that they saw, your open house, is the right one for them to buy, or it will confirm that it is not the right one for them. And then if they are going to buy something else, now they have an opportunity to maybe get into one of those houses, and you're the person that could possibly do that for them. That's powerful. And that's what I want for you. I want it to be very, very, I want you to come across as approachable, friendly, helpful, non-salesy, okay? So those are some ideas about what you're doing during the open house. After the open house now, what do you do after the open house? So first of all, you do not leave an open house without having and doing a seller's open house report. It doesn't matter whether or not you're going to call that seller in 5 minutes after you leave and they've said, call me from the house. I want you to call me from the house before you leave. Great. Leave them an open house, show them detail, let them know, put it in writing. It's very powerful for them to come home and read. Not just to hear from me, yeah, there were 20 people in the open house, it went really well, blah, blah, blah. You can have a conversation with them, but I want you to leave in the house the seller's open house report. This is about creating excellence for the client, okay? Also, send a note. It could be a thank you note to people that maybe have left their information. It could be a note that you want to leave for the seller. It could be dropping off a note to a neighbor that came in to the neighbors only portion. Maybe they came in and maybe it's just a note that says, hey, really nice meeting you at the open house. You know, it was lovely to, you know, talking to you about the history of the area. Drop that note off before you leave. That's powerful, okay? An open house with visual impact starts obviously with a brand. And I always tell people that here's what happens. You're usually one of three types of an agent. And, you know, maybe you're that agent who you have done a lot of open houses. You've relied on them. They have been a good part of your business. But you want to up your game and you want to be more professional. You need to kind of have a new way to connect and a new way to invite people to engage with you. Maybe you are overwhelmed completely by the number of people who say that they're working with another agent. And that's because that's what happens. People walk in the open house, I'm working with an agent, I'm working with an agent, I'm working with an agent. Let them work with that agent. Let them walk through that house. You do your great, fantastic job. As they're leaving, say, here's the open house book. Hey, grab a drink, grab a snack for the road. You guys have a great day. They're going to remember you. They will cycle back to you. Maybe not that moment, maybe not that day, but I cannot tell you how many people hired me when I'd get a phone call and they would say, oh, I met you at an open house a year ago, and I'd be like, you remember me from a year ago? And I remember one lady that said this to me, and she said, because I said to her, wow, a year ago? You remember me from a year ago? I am just so honored. That's what I said to her. And she, again, people always teach me things. And she said, well, you're the only person at all the open houses we've been at in the last 6 months that gave us anything more than a flyer of the house and their business card wanting our business. And that was powerful to me, okay? Now, you might also be that new agent and you want to make a name for yourself through open houses. You can do it. Open houses are a phenomenal way to build business. However, you've got to have the right tools, you've got to have a system, and you have to visually wow people. When they walk in, they've got to know this is an open house event. This agent knows what they're talking about. Wow, they've done their research. Very detail oriented. And by the way, remember this. If 80% of the population out there is a visual population, will this help you or will this hurt you? It's going to help you. You need to do it. Okay, now let's take that one step further. When at an open house, if you have 30% of the population that's analytical, will that help you with your analyticals or will it hurt you? It's going to help you, right? This is the thing that I always think about with open houses is look at the different personality types out there and ask, how will these tools help you? Well, if it's a supporter, it helps them to have a reason to discuss things with you and have questions, and it's that engagement. If it's a promoter, they're wowed by the materials. If it's a controller, it's like, this person's done their work, and controllers love people who do things well. If it's analytical, you're giving them information, and that's what they want. You have to have a visual voice. In today's marketplace where you've got buyers racing quickly through open houses, you better visually have some way to be remembered. And if you do not have a visual voice today, you're not going to have that edge. At open houses, at listings, with potential buyers, potential sellers, you just won't have anything. So I want you to have a visual voice. I want your materials to be wow, to look different and original and powerful and informative. And that's where just having and creating that visual voice for you is so, so important. Sean, any final comments from you? I encourage anybody who has a question about anything to do with open houses, feel free to absolutely call our office, reach out to us. My goal today really is to get you out there, really upping your game when it comes to open houses. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I would say imagine a potential buyer or seller leaving your open house with great information. I mean, don't you want them reflecting on that great experience that they had like hours, days, weeks after the event, because they've taken that information and they've got it as a reference, and they're going to remember you if you've developed a brand and have that visual way to communicate who you are and what you do, even when somebody's not right in front of you. So if you do want to have some additional time to talk about you, your business, your brand, and where to go from here, we do encourage you to reach out with the information that's on the screen here. You can also add a comment on the webinar console here, and we can schedule a time to talk with you afterwards. And Randy, do we have any questions?
We do. We've got a number of questions from our audience. Thank you. Denise, thanks for that great presentation on how valuable open houses are. Let's move on to those questions right away here. Denise, you and Shauna were showing some handouts. Do you give these to people as they come in, or is there a place in the house that you would recommend putting them out for people to take?
All of the visuals are inside for people to look at. So imagine they've come to the open house, you have the beautiful open house boards. What I don't do is I don't have the home tour books out to give. The reason for that is that I don't want everyone that walks through that door grabbing that, because the reality is that unless I explain what it is, they're going to wonder, what is this, right? It's got these other houses, it's got this. Why is she showing me other houses in the neighborhood? They won't understand the context of it. So that open house book, what I do is when I feel that that will be of help to someone, if someone walks in and says to me, you know what, I'm thinking about selling my house, I'm the neighbor from across the way, I'm not going to give them a tour book to go look at other houses that are for sale in the neighborhood, because obviously it's until they have their house in the market, it's not going to be relative to them. So that item I keep in a place that is usually close to the front door, but it's usually in a black leather binder that I have, and as they're leaving, I go and open the binder, I take it out, and then I give it to them. So that is something that's definitely more selective. I make the choice on that.
Okay.
Can I jump in here? Actually, sorry. For the second part of that question, like the other materials, like the community information, maybe some of the price information and things like that. What I would try to do is be very strategic in the type of information that you have available as additional handouts, because remember, one of the other benefits of having that information there, possibly not as a handout, is that they need you to send them that information later. So having some things out like that's looking like you're not just trying to capture information, but you're being somewhat helpful, but then having some things that you're holding back, as Denise had said, you don't want to just have it out for everybody. So that way that gives them a reason to give you their contact information so you can follow up.
Okay. Denise, would you still give a home tour book to a person walking into your open house if they were accompanied by their agent?
I never get in the way of another agent relationship ever. Now, what I have done many times, I've noticed that the agent, I could hear them talking, and maybe the person has said to the agent, I love it, but the backyard's just too small. We just can't. We got 2 dogs. We can't do it, right? So I've heard that. I have gone up to the agent and I've said, hey, I have something that might be helpful for you. And I give it to the agent. And then the agent can do with it what they want. You have to be respectful. Now, I will say something. I think it's as important to be really professional with an agent as it is with a potential client that's walking through the door. And, we need people. We need agents to sell our listings. We need agents to have a good memory of us or respect us, or, I want my name to be a name that is associated with, she's professional. That was nice. She did that for me. You never know where and when it will come back to help you. So I wouldn't walk over and give it to the client. That would feel really, because if someone did that to me, I'd be like, what are you doing? That would bother me. So I always think about what would I like. And basically, absolutely, I would give it to the agent. But I'd say, here's something that you might find helpful. Then I let the agent decide what they want to disclose of that.
Okay. Denise, do sellers coming to your open house really need to receive handouts? It seems better to meet them after the open house, tour their home. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't think that there's a lot of sellers that walk into an open house, meet you and go, hey, come on over to my house. In all the years of doing open houses, I didn't have a lot of that. I had a couple times where they'd say, well, can you come look at my house and tell me what you think? And I would, and that is that more of that, sometimes you just have, a neighbor that's just kind of curious, and they're usually curious for a reason. Maybe they want to sell one day soon, or maybe they're just curious. And the reality is, though, is I don't just hand people stuff just for the sake of handing it. It's not like you walk in and everybody gets the same stuff. I got to kind of feel people out. I want to talk to people. I don't just want them, oh, here you go, hi, here you go, hi, here you go. I don't do that. That just feels very generic to me, and I don't like generic, and I don't want to be generic. I want anybody that meets me to know pretty quickly that I'm looking them in the eye. I'm listening to what they have to say. If they say, we like this area, we're just not 100% sure, we don't know that much about it, then I'm able to say, let me show you a few things that some research I've done in this area, because, I was like you a year ago. I didn't know a lot about this area, but wow, I've discovered a lot this last year. I'm very honest with people about if I'm newer to an area or I didn't know that area, that some in-depth things, I will share that with them. People love honesty, but just handing sellers stuff and encouraging, let's just go to your house and look at it after, that just feels a little pushy to me. Now that's me, that's my style. I'm strong, I'm assertive. If I know what I'm talking about, I have a strong voice, but I'm not a pushy salesperson, and that's the difference. I really, truly want to help people, and I know everybody that's listening at some point has come across a pushy salesperson, and you know that feeling. It's just they're not respecting what you're saying. And this is just a quick, funny story. A few years ago, my husband and I, we were in Mexico, and he's like, oh, this really nice guy keeps wanting us to go to this timeshare presentation. And I said, well, I'm not buying a timeshare. So this nice guy comes over and he says to me, I want you to go to this presentation. I said, well, I'm not going to buy a timeshare. I will not buy a timeshare. I'm actually a real estate investor. I don't believe in buying timeshares. And I went on and on about the 20 reasons why I would not ever buy a timeshare. I said, I don't want to waste anyone's time, et cetera, et cetera. And he didn't listen to a word I said. His goal was very simple. He needed to get an appointment because that's how he got paid. He did not listen to a word I said. All he was looking for was, to get what he wanted. And when somebody's not listening, it becomes very obvious very quickly. So I need people to listen. I need you to listen as agents. Your buyers and sellers out there really respect and appreciate when you do take the time to listen to them. So don't just treat everybody the same generic way. When someone comes in the door, hear what they're saying, hear if they're with an agent, be helpful to the agent, be helpful to those buyers. Don't overstep, don't push, don't shut. Make sure that you're really respectful of that relationship. And if it's a neighbor, if that neighbor says, listen, I want you to come over right now, as soon as the open house finishes, you have to decide if that's something you want to do. If it's something you want to do it. If you say, you know what, here's my process. Actually, what I need to do before I come over is do this. Maybe you have a different process, but you have to be able to articulate that in a way that suits your the style of which you operate your business.
Okay, speaking of assertiveness, Denise, what is the right approach for welcoming people to an open house and getting them to do what I want? Sign in, tell me if they're under contract, notice the best features, and of course, buy the place.
Okay, well, first of all, that whole approach doesn't work anymore, and hear what the question was. And this is why I love anonymous questions, because I get to answer it without knowing who you are, and I'm not going to offend you. And if I offend you, it's because I want to help you. So when you say something like, how do I get them to walk in the door, sign my guest registry, do what I want them to do, and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not your job. Your job isn't to control people as they walk in the door. Your job is to be there to showcase the house, to showcase yourself personally, to showcase your professionalism, to showcase the neighborhood, the amenities, right? You're there to showcase the product. It's not your opportunity to get them to do what you want. When I worked with large builders and I walked around and I did a lot of mystery shopping and I did a lot of, firsthand experiences with other developments and other new sales sites, one of the things that I was very offended by was I'd walk in the door and they'd like, hi, I need you to sign this registry and I need you to do this and I need you to do that. And I'm like, I don't want to do all those things. I came here, my expectation was to come to look at a house. I don't need to go through 3 hoops to do it. Now, I'll tell you guys one thing you have to be very careful about, and this we learned I learned this many years ago. When you're selling new construction, when you're selling resale, if you want someone to jump through a hoop, you better let them know prior. You might have something that says, due to the overwhelming demand for homes in this neighborhood, sellers do require all attendees to sign in. Now, I'll tell you right now, I've advertised that. because I want people to know before they walk in the door. I do not present people. I don't make people sign in. Now, I know people go, well, how do you get names? You know how you get names? You earn them. You don't demand them. You earn them. And that's the difference. I don't want to demand 20 people coming through my open house to leave me their name, only to get mad at me when I call them. I'm not going to call them. I want to earn the right to communicate with them. So my approach might look something like a little different. It might look something like this. So let's imagine someone's come through the open house. First of all, the first question was, how do you greet them? So what I do is I act as, I greet them, but I act like I am in charge of this open house, and I want people to know a thing or two. So as they come in, I'll welcome them. I don't get into asking them 55 questions. Hi, how are you? How'd you find the house? What are you doing here today? Hey, are you working with another agent? How long have you been working with that agent? How many times have you talked to that agent? Are you really, really committed to that agent? Have they ever written an offer for you? Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that I have been asked everything in the book when I have done my mystery shopping, and it is offensive. Instead, I welcome people and I let them be free to do what they came to do, which is they first want to see things. They're more likely to talk to me if I let them see things first. So it looks more like this. So let's imagine Shauna came or Randy came to my open house. I'd say, thanks for coming to my open house. Welcome, you guys. And then I would say to them, there's a couple things I want to point out for your tour when you go when you go through the house today. When you're in the backyard, I want you to notice, and then I'll tell them what I want them to notice. Or also, just make a note of the upstairs master bathroom has a 16-point shower head that is pretty spectacular. So you might want to look at that. I have all that information in this package for you as well. Take this, enjoy it, and let them go and look in the tour, right? Then as they come either downstairs, or if it's a one level and they're cruising around the house, they're going to see as they walk through the open house the different things that I've got placed in the area, and that is going to intrigue them. And as we start to build rapport, we start to have a conversation. And oftentimes people will say things like, well, you know, they might be talking about an area. And if they say to me something like, yeah, well, you know, it's a nice area, you know, I can pick up that they're not sold in the area. I get it. And then I might say, you know, one of the things that I have done for some of my clients in the past, so I'm just giving them a story. So once, you know, here's something I've done that helped somebody else. So what I've done that's helped someone else is I've actually shown them an analysis comparing 4 or 5 different areas, because everybody has a couple areas they're interested in. But if you have it laid out where you can compare all the stats and facts in one nice document, it makes it really easy. And if you guys have 2 or 3 or 4 areas that you're interested in, if you give me your email, I'll be happy to send you all the information and all the reports I've done in those areas so you can see that. Now you're earning the right for them to say, okay, great, give me your email. Now they give me my email, then I send it. I do not demand information from people. I earn information from people, and I earn their contact information.
Awesome. Okay, we have lots of questions, but a limited amount of time, and we may not be able to get to everybody today. But if you can take one more.
I'll take one more, sure.
All right. Denise.
And thank you, by the way, thank you for that last question, because you're just doing it the way everybody does it. That's the way we were taught to do it. That's the way I was taught to do it. I was taught, they don't even get past, I mean, they walk in the front door, the first thing you can say is, hi, welcome to my open house. I need you to, or the seller needs you to register today. So all you're doing is what you've always been taught to do, but it doesn't mean it's the right way. And I want you to connect with people. I don't want you to offend people when they first walk in the door.
All right. Thank you, Denise. All right. I work for a small real estate company. It's just 2 of us in this market of low inventory. We don't have a lot of listings or open houses. Would you recommend approaching agents from bigger companies to offer to do open houses for their agents, even though essentially they are a competitor? What do you think, Denise, real quick?
Well, I actually don't look, I think the one thing, and I guess I look at things a little bit differently. I think that you compete for listings. I think you compete for buyers. I think what you're talking about is more, you have the ability to offer a service to perhaps a busy agent. Now, I will tell you that a lot of agents will say, nope, no, thank you. You're from another company. We don't do that. And they're not, you know, many agents would say, I'm not interested in that. But I have a client right now that does open houses on a regular basis for an agent that's in a completely different company. And it's a win-win for both of them. That agent, that busy agent, gets her open houses the exposure they need, and how she sells that to her sellers, it's incredible. She says to the sellers, I'm going to do an open house, but I am using a gal from another company. And let me tell you why I'm doing that. I want everybody from that company. I want to reach out. This is a collaborative market. We need them. So sellers don't have a problem with it. So that's how she does it, and she does very well with it. So it can be done, absolutely.
Awesome. And finally, Denise, perfect segue for closing our webinar here. How do you say goodbye to those who came to the open house?
Okay, so what when you say goodbye to somebody, make it easy for them to leave, because a lot of people feel there's this awkward thing. When I say goodbye to someone, I don't get close to them. I don't, people are very funny about body space. So what I do is I'll say, hey, you guys, thanks so much for coming to the open house. Why don't you take a beverage and a snack? I've got some right at the front door for you. You know, if you're out looking at houses today, it's going to probably be a long day. So just please grab a snack or two. And I invite them to grab a snack or two. And they're leaving and they're happy. And I leave them with, I've just fed them for the next half an hour and they're thrilled. So my goodbye is a very loose, go, be free. Not a very formal, you know, where you're now, well, it's like, can I ask you on a date? It's just awkward. Don't do it. Let them go. If they're attracted to you, they're going to come back, right? Absolutely. Right. Remember, the one thing I'll tell you about open houses, it is your opportunity to give people a complete example, a window into how you work. And I love them. I love open houses for that purpose. Now, I will say one thing finally about open houses. I did a lot of open houses, but I will tell you that with my personality type, I'm a supporter controller. I can't have a dead open house. For me, going to an open house and having nobody show up, that's the final thing I want to chat about. That makes me crazy. So I had to make sure that I did marketing so that people came. If people come to my open house and it's busy and there's lots of activity, I'm good to go. However, if I go to the open house and people aren't there and they don't show up and I'm just sitting in a house for a couple hours, that's going to make me crazy. I'm not an agent that's comfortable. Oh, I'll catch up on emails. I'll catch up on this. Do not take your computer into an open house for the purpose of catching up on your emails. You need to be on it, ready. You're in open house mode.
Awesome. Now, a lot of these questions have focused on what to do once you get people there, not getting people there. That's a great point. Yes, well, thank you, Denise. Thank you, Shauna. And thank you to you, our audience, for spending your morning with us. I know we weren't able to get to everybody's questions, but we do have a limited amount of time for today's webinar, so we will respond to your questions directly via email. If you have other questions about today's presentation, or if you would like to know more about how we can help you with your real estate business, or some of those materials that we were showing you, or the handouts and props for open houses, please give us a call. Our phone number and email address are there on your screen. We hope to see you at next month's Business Boost webinar on Wednesday, March 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific. Our topic is going to be targeted prospecting, how to identify audiences that are ripe with potential listings. From all of us here at the Lonas Group, have an excellent rest of your day.